Okay, let's dive right into a really fascinating idea. We're going to break down why the people with the most money, the truly wealthy, are often the quietest about it, while so many others go broke just trying to look rich.
I mean, you've seen this, right? You scroll through social media and you see people with the expensive cars, the fancy gadgets, the perfect vacations. But behind the scenes, a lot of the time, their bank accounts are empty and they're stressed out. And then you have the actual rich people who often live these surprisingly simple lives. So what's going on here? What's their secret? While this brings us to this very modern problem, this trap really, we can call it the race to look rich. And it's a weird kind of race because the pressure to appear wealthy often becomes the biggest thing stopping you from actually becoming wealthy. So, on one side, you got this highlight reel, the social media version of wealth. It's all about flashy cars, perfect captions, and making sure everyone knows how great your life is. But so often, behind that screen, it's a story of debt and a whole lot of anxiety. And on the other side, that's where real wealth is being built, quietly. The focus isn't on impressing other people. It's on building genuine, real security for yourself.
Okay, so if that's the race we're supposed to avoid, what's the alternative? Well, for that, let's turn to the philosophy of one of the most successful and, one of the quietest investors in the world, Warren Buffett.
I mean, think about this. The guy is worth billions, and yet he famously lives in the exact same house he bought way back in 1958 in Omaha. He paid about $31,000 for it. There's no crazy luxury, no constant need for the next new expensive thing. His whole life sends a really powerful message. Money is a tool you use, not a trophy you hang on the wall for everyone to see. And man, this quote just cuts right through our whole culture of spend first, ask questions later. For most of us, the minute we get paid, the first thought is, okay, what can I buy? But what Buffett's warning us is that that very impulse, well, it's a direct path to financial trouble.
So what we're really looking at here is a fundamental clash between two completely different mindsets. You've got the impulsive, short-term desire to look rich versus the disciplined, patient, long-term work it takes to actually become rich.
So many of us get this completely backward. We pay our bills, we buy the things we want, and then we just kind of hope there's something left over to stick in a savings account. The wealthy mindset, it flips that on its head. You save and you invest first. That's the priority. And then you learn to live on what's left over. That simple change is how you start building real momentum.
This is where the difference really becomes clear. The person showing off is laser-focused on the price tag, how much it costs. But the person actually building wealth, they're focused on the value. They're asking a totally different question. Is this purchase actually going to improve my future, or is it just a temporary thrill? And this just lays out the trade-off perfectly, doesn't it? You can chase that short-term validation, the dopamine hit you get from impressing people. Or you can do the quiet, steady work that leads to an entire lifetime of financial independence. The thing is, you can't have both. So let's get back to that original question. Why do the wealthy keep their finances so quiet? Let's dig into the power of keeping your money moves private because it's not what you'd expect.
The moment you start telling everyone about your financial plans or your successes, you're not just sharing info. You're basically inviting judgment and doubt and sometimes even jealousy into your life. And all that external noise can get in your head and seriously weaken your own confidence.
So, being quiet about your money isn't a sign of fear. It's a form of security. It's a strategy. You don't need anyone else to validate your plans. You just do the work first, and you let the results do the talking for you way, way down the road. That silence is what lets you focus without getting distracted. And this is exactly why smart investors prioritize learning over talking. Instead of running around and asking everyone for their opinion, they invest their time in really understanding their own investments. They get that the biggest risk isn't a bad market. It's being ignorant about what you're doing.
So, how do you actually apply all this to your own life? It really boils down to a pretty clear, actionable 3-step formula.
Okay, step 1. You have to consciously make the decision to opt out of the race to impress other people. Just step away from it. Step 2. Start seeing your money as a tool for building the life you actually want, not just as a status symbol. And third, and this is maybe the most important, commit to learning, always. Like Buffett says, the more you learn, the more you earn. It's all about shifting your focus from the external world to your internal world. And that right there, that's the foundation of real freedom. And that's really the big takeaway here. True wealth isn't a byproduct of how much noise you make. It's a byproduct of your mindset.
It's built quietly, through patience and making smart choices. So I'll leave you with a thought. What is one small decision you can make today to choose long-term value over a short-term price tag?